Hello there! Welcome to a faction overview of Archaon, the Everchosen of the Warriors of Chaos. As it is the norm in these Second Thoughts overviews, I've played through the initial turns, got a feel for the faction, and these are my conclusions. In the end, as always, I'll give you some army compositions to try out in your own plays. This is not an in-depth guide, but it will definitely assist you in your gameplay. Now let's go play with Archaon, the Everchosen. For our short victory condition objectives, we need to destroy or vassalize the Ice Court faction, so Tsarina here, and Kislev. We also need to maintain control of the Blood Marshes, the initial province basically, and the Skull Road, the one leading towards the Kislev locations. So it all kind of points out like a big arrow, like go to Kislev. You need to also occupy Loot-Razor Sec 35 different settlements, all in the road to Kislev. So it seems that it focuses you or forces you to focus on Kislev overall. Achieving this, Winds of Magic power to all armies, a nice buff as always, useful to ensure your casters are great in combat. For the long victory, things change. You need to achieve the short victory, occupy Loot-Razor Sec 80 different settlements, that's a lot, but nothing too out of the ordinary, then to control at least 13 of the following settlements, either directly or for vessels and military allies. So, to save you from this is mainly top settlements, you know, mainly the capitals of some places. You can see they're all scattered all over the world. Okay, so the best idea here would be to just keep capturing overall, and once you're close, you just focus on specific ones to complete it. Completing this long victory will take time, but it will give you plus 10 Lord Recruit rank. It will help you get into domination or other objectives if you wish. Now, Archaon is the Everchosen. He benefits from maximum active gifts, plus 1, for Gifts of Chaos Undivided. More into those mechanics later. Research rate also plus 10% per each vassalized faction. This has the potential to become really powerful, so go for it. Diplomatic relations with Demons of Chaos, Warriors of Chaos, everything Chaos, basically. It's really cool. Per each vassalized faction, once more, it becomes a roller coaster. The more vassals you get, the easier it becomes to get vassals. So, and then you have plus 25 souls per turn from each vassal faction. All into the mechanics, we'll go more into that, but it's a really good faction idea, build up on the vassals. Now, in terms of climates, I don't need to mention that it's all green, baby. It's all for you. Of course, because of the vassal mechanics, you may not wish to conquer, and probably most likely you won't wish to conquer everything for you. You'll just have some vassals conquering for you, and you'll get a hold of the Dark Fortress sites. More on that later in terms of the mechanics. However, yes, if you choose to just have the whole map painted, you can do so very easily with the Warriors of Chaos with Archaon. Your starting location is rather good, tucked into a corner mostly, so you have a decent place to organize your conquests into. And to expand, of course. Typical expansion route completely gets you to the route to Kislev. However, once you achieve that, it is up to you, and it turns into a nice sandbox campaign, really. Because of the objectives and how they go in terms of the long campaign, it can direct you to anywhere, you know, from one place to another, from one end to another. So, literally, you can do anything you wish after that point in time. And even before achieving the short campaign, it's not really necessary to go over there. It may get destroyed by someone else. So yeah, a truly great experience, and the starting location really helps as the objectives spread out into the whole map, but you also get this nice tucked in location. In terms of diplomacy, it is tricky to talk about. Of course, you're Chaos, most of the time only other Chaos, Norska, and some demons, some beastmen will kind of like you, and some of them will hate you even on those. But everything else just wants to kill you. But of course, the main idea is that you can have vassals, and according to those vassals, other types of friends will show up. So everyone will have a different idea and a different experience while playing the Warriors of Chaos, which is great. It adds to the replay value. Now, outposts will most likely come from the missile-based factions or Norska, for instance. So nothing wrong with having some Skaven. You know, the typical mercenaries in the game are Skaven or Ogres, because they can ally with everyone if they wish. So Skaven, the missile troops, the weapons teams, the artillery. Then for Norsca, the monsters, the flying monster there, some missile troops if you wish, especially for the early game. And then for the Vampire Coast, of course, if you can manage, their elite missile troops are always good to have some variety in your army compositions. Mechanics have changed significantly, and for the best part. Now, souls are a unique currency harvested by fighting anything that is not a demon, anything with a soul. They're used for heroes and lords to achieve marks of chaos, and also for the gift of chaos mechanic, which, for instance, you have the Path of Glory, where you can spend some souls in order to devote to Khorne, or to devote to Nurgle, for example. Speaking of the gifts of chaos, of course, as you've noted, you will need to purchase those, in order to be able to use these ones, and then you will have some upkeep on those gifts of chaos. So be wary of your amount of souls so that you don't run out, of course. These gifts of chaos will provide you some buffs that can be active, as you can see there, and also some unlocking some units that will instantly be added to your gifted units, and every 3 turns afterwards, as you can see there, which is great. Extra specific units, all depending on what gift of chaos you have actually unlocked there. Now, in terms of the Path of Glory, as I was talking about, it is a great way to ensure that you get some nice traits to your lords and heroes, or even to have them ascend into demons later on. Very useful, very customizable. Actually, all the mechanics in the Warriors of Chaos feel the customize idea was the word was behind all of that. Now, Eye of the Gods. It offers a series of dilemmas based on the number of active gifts, and these offer powerful rewards, so be on the lookout for them. Authority is a way for you to grant some specific cheaper upgrades and upkeep as well as replenishment to a specific alignment. You can count Undivided as a specific alignment for these purposes. Very straightforward way to customize your armies in the long run to whatever you prefer. Your units recruit instantly. I do not have any to recruit at this moment in time, but that's how you achieve very large numbers really fast. You can upgrade them into a specific alignment. Let me choose a unit here. You can upgrade them into a specific alignment, each with their own, necessary prerequisite. Like, for instance, you need to have Forsaken in order to have Spawn of Nurgle. And how you upgrade them? Well, they will need specific amounts of experience. So the more experienced the units are, the better it will be for them to upgrade, or the easier it will be for them to upgrade. So yeah, it is a customized idea for your armies in the long run. You'll need just money to cost that to overcome that costs, to ensure that you can upgrade them. And yes, that's about how it works. You can customize your armies in the long run. Perfect, really cool example. Now, in terms of buildings, you can only build everything in a Dark Fortress site. More on that later in terms of the buildings. But yeah, just bear in mind that these are your main settlements, the ones that you'll be using in order to build up everything. Finally, vassals should be noted kind of like a mechanic. As the faction will work immensely with them, vassals will give you tribute, and you can work with them to focus enemies down or create a never-ending tide of armies against them. In terms of edicts, you have Chaos, Undivided Corruption, and Chaos in all on adjacent provinces and your own. You also have a campaign movement range reduction, enemy hero action success reduction, and minus attrition when under siege, so more defensive. They've come to the wrong place, indeed. You have a less chance of a plague spreading, and more hero recruits rank and recruitment cost, and also a minus to control but local warband recruitment or replenishment rate chance for those undivided marauders, and less construction costs for all buildings. All good and dandy. Now, in terms of of your army stances, basically you do have channeling for 10%. You have Encamp for 50% movement, so it enables replenishment, immune to attrition. You also have Raiding, that is immune to attrition, costs 25%. Do note, sometimes most of the time it costs 50% movement. In this case only 25%, and 25% for the Ambush. And that's it. That's basically what we have for the Warriors of Chaos. In terms of buildings, it has a rather unique approach because of the warband upgrades mechanic. What you unlock is just a basic version of the unit, to be easier to upgrade from that in essence. It also provides unit capacity for those units. You know, provides local warband unit capacity to Chaos Trolls, to Chaos Spawn. With other income buffs, for instance, such as here, favor from all buildings, recruit rank from all units, hero and lord recruit rank. You see the generalized idea that we have here. Now, in terms of the military buildings, you have 6 of them, and then you have some infrastructure buildings. Those are quite good. You have growth and casualty replenishment rate to honestly insane levels. And then we have a favor, so income, and then income from post-battle loot and sacking settlements faction-wide, so the more the merrier. And you also have the strategy chamber here for more control, income from all buildings, and corruption. Pretty straightforward. They're very useful, very good, but of course you're limited to where you can have a dark fortress. Speaking of the minor settlements, you can see that it's very small. All that you can have is a basic building there. You can choose between a Winds of Magic and Casualty Replenishment Rate. It also unlocks a hero recruitment there, so it is important to note that, especially after having that technology. And you can also have Warband upgrades costs reduced with some unit capacity there as well. You also can have a magic item drop chance and souls gained from battles, which should be useful as well. And of course a more defensive garrison style building for some defensive buffs. In essence, it's certainly not something to have in every single settlement, but maybe one every province, maybe every other province you should have a couple of these to ensure that you can have those buffs and that you can take advantage of these ones. In terms of your research, you have a very interesting way of an interesting approach. You can go further into any chaos god, basically. And this is the idea. So for instance, if you go over here, you'll go more into the Khorne idea. So you'll get some Warbrand upgrades for the Mark of Khorne. And then you'll get some more Khorne authority in all armies, but reduced for Slaanesh. You also have gifted units from Khorne. So if you like more into the Khorne idea, then go for this place. Or if you like more into the Blessings of Nurgle, let's go over here. So it is all kind of like customizable in terms of technology, not really the let me get all of those. So yeah, I really love this idea so that you can kind of customize what you really like to do, truly. As always, we have your Lord specific buffs, some magic and combat skills, red line or for your army and blue or for your campaign. Do recall that the authority system is what gives you casualty replenishment rate and upkeep costs, so reduction. So that is what mainly will have that, but you still have replenish in the blue line as well, such as here. So yeah, replenishment will have you'll have no issues with it for certain. You also have some interesting buffs here for the souls gained and the increased experience gain. This is important for the Warriors of Chaos because of the warband mechanics, as units need to have experience to be upgraded, basically. Now, red line is one of the best. It is less expensive. They are streamlined into either demonic units or mortal units, for instance. So you can definitely have great combos for very few skill points allocated. A note on the heroes, for instance, the Exalted Hero does have the casualty replenishment rate, so you can always have very good heroes adapted, and then it depends with the Path of Glory, so it's all customizable, really. You need to discover a little bit on this, but I'll leave it to that without giving you too much of a spoiler, really. It's the interesting part of the campaign is also to figure out what will be the best idea to go for. So these are the red line skills for the units of the Warriors of Chaos roster, the most extensive ones, so forgive me for trying to get everything the same page here. Now the interesting note is how these skills affect unit types, such as all non-demonic infantry. all demonic flying units, all demonic missile and flying units. Sometimes it's difficult to understand which ones affect or which ones doesn't. If I made a mistake, please let me know. I have no idea to double check these. We'll show you some army compositions, but a disclaimer. It is the fun part, so I go crazy with it, adapt to the enemy. I just had a couple of them for you, to showcase for you, instead of going overboard with tons of different armies. That's the experience. That's the fun part. So I don't really want to give you too much. I'll just showcase 4 army compositions, 2 for Archaon and then 2 for others. Let's see about it. So, Archaon, he buffs Chaos Warriors, he buffs Chaos Chosen units, and then Chaos Knights. So of course, a typical army for him would be Chosen units with some Chaos Knights for Hammer and Info. That's pretty cool, interesting army to use on the battlefield, but nothing preventing you from going with some artillery, with some Zinch and Khorne compositions. It's up to you, really. Just have fun with them, go crazy with the good infantry there. Now, with this in mind, you can also set up some completely different armies. Slaanesh plus Nurgle army-based units here, while over here we have the Khorne Zinch army with a little bit more flyers. Of course, you can have some flamers of Zinch, you can have anywhere there. It's really the fun part. It is going to be very difficult and very lengthy to... it will take some time to even reach a composition like this. So that's the unique part of the experience with the Warriors of Chaos. And that's where you're going to find out, like, having this as a sort of an idea, generalized sense, and then seeing what you come up with. Maybe you'll find out a better army composition while you're reaching this. That's the experience with the new Warriors of Chaos. That's the one that I want you to have. Just bear in mind, of course, with the skills, it may be costly sometimes, but it's still uncostly if you really want just something basic in your army. So yeah, it's up to you guys. Final notes: customize. If Demons of Chaos was customizable, boy, they enhanced it for the Warriors of Chaos. Different faction leaders will have different choices here, but Archaon is the one that can really have it all the units available to them in one way or another. The replay value is then in what army compositions you're going to use next. Are you more into going for Slaanesh? Do you prefer Khorne? Do you prefer Zinch? Do you prefer Nurgle? Or maybe going to a trio of gods and trying out the compositions there, or maybe 2, or maybe just 1, or undivided. Whatever you come up with, show them to the community later on. It's also unique in the Domination campaign because you can go anywhere. You can just play out the most sandboxy campaign ever, most customizable campaign ever. Now, your army will consist in general sense: great infantry, great cavalry, good missiles, great monsters and single entities, great flyers, but it does rely on upgrading the units and requires time for you to get to the elite troops. That is the only downside. Once you're in the late game, you're nearly unstoppable. Replenishment is great as well, so climate helps a lot in that regard. I believe now then, it is time for you to bring out the end of times with Archaon the Everchosen.